Hello and welcome back to Fantasy Turf War, the coolest fantasy football league on the planet. Before we get started, I've got a note from our commissioner. I hope you all enjoyed the new clips in the intro and pay attention as they'll start to change every few weeks. Penguins have arrived down here for the season, and now I have friends to talk to. We also had a solar eclipse this past week. So again, that's from Commissioner Corey. This is season 2, episode 14. Overall, our 90th episode, and we've got a lot to get through today. So show me some love for my friends, Adam from the Fantasy Couriers, and Susan, who's of course the Gridiron Goddess. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
What's up?
Hello.
Adam, please introduce yourself.
I'm Adam Dove on the Fantasy Couriers. I go by the moniker DJ Dove. Just a fun podcast of two childhood friends who decided to talk fantasy just to be able to get it out of our systems. He's a single dad living at home with nobody else, and my wife doesn't want to hear about it anymore. So we just have fun, and we've been doing it for this week was episode 283, actually.
Nice. Well done. Well done. And Susan, the Gridiron Goddess.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Find me down here with my socials. Beginning fantasy football content. That's the name of my game. I'm happy to talk with you guys tonight and see what we can do to help people get out of panic mode for their season.
And I am, of course, Cameron Bassett, co-hosting, supporting Shelter Dogs for Veterans, and for our friends with us tonight. Welcome. We are streaming live on several platforms. We appreciate you being with us. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the show to find out who won last week's trivia contest and then enter your chance to win this week. So welcome back for another show. This one perhaps appropriately titled for some people, Fantasy Football Panic Mode, Save Your Season Now. What a wild week for football, guys. Was it really as crazy as it felt? I mean, mostly there were lows for fantasy football teams because of injuries starting to plague your rosters, and now the waiver weeks just be on the horizon. But was it really that crazy, or was it just me?
Go ahead.
It was a weird week. I sat there and I was watching games, and I'm like, this is cool. But it just seemed there. Oh yeah, that guy got hurt. Crap, here we go. But Monday night I thought was great. Monday night was fun to watch, and then I fell asleep. Then I woke up and it got spread apart a little more. But there was a couple games, but by and large, I don't know. This week I love football. This week it was just sort of there. It was sort of a float on kind of week for me. I feel kind of weird as a lover of the sport and a lover of the game that it was. Maybe is it just me, or there was something weird about this week that it just sort of, or I'm looking at the waiver wire and it kind of stinks. But
it felt a little off to me too, and we had some notable injuries this week. CeeDee Lamb, and that was just kind of painful just to see him be frustrated on the sidelines. He wanted to play and try to go back out there, and just couldn't do it. And then Najee Harris, James Conner, both out for the season now. It just kind of felt like there was a bit of a taint on the weekend. It just felt really odd,
I agree. It wasn't like the games, the island games, I feel like were very enjoyable, but the games within the main week, meh.
Yeah. And of course, now after 3 weeks, we see a lot of roller coaster players and lots of roller coaster teams where you're great one week and then you just don't even bother to show up. You're just completely absent the next week. That was really weird. We talked a lot last week about many names to do some research on because of the injuries, because of performance, things like that. I mean, the great thing about lists and research is that you can always come back to it and build on it. So that's what we're going to do. But we have another week behind us, which means another week of data to sift through. We're starting to see some trends and or some matchups to exploit. And if you are 2-1 or better in your league, there's a good chance you probably have avoided some of the key injuries in the early part of the season, but nobody is immune to this. And of course, if you have more losses than wins, and even if you're 0-3, there is still hope to save your season. But before we dig into that topic, One thing is for certain, and that's that we do have a partner that we give a shout out to, or to in this show. So with that, Susan, take it away.
All right, let's take a quick time out to shout out our partners at Alpha Clash, the indie comic book trading card game that turns every match into a lore-driven battle for glory. In the Alpha Clash universe, superpowered contenders collide in a fast-paced game that perfectly blends fun and competition. Build your deck, unleash devastating abilities, and outmaneuver your opponent in a game that's as much about brains as it is about bold moves. The artwork will pull you in, the gameplay will keep you coming back, and the growing global community awaits. Head to alphaclashtcg.com and start your journey today. That's alphaclashtcg.com. It's time to enter the clash. Alpha Clash has generously donated booster packs where you at home can win today.
Awesome. So week 3 is behind us now. Many of us are feeling the pains of weak teams, bad decisions, underperformers, or maybe simply the injury bug. Can you save your season? Only the magic 8 ball, shaken carefully, may give you the answer, but the magic 8 ball isn't always right. Just last week, I was at the store, and I asked the question of the magic 8 ball if I should marry the person I was standing next to, and the ball said, well, it's hard to say. My wife looked at me, shook her head, and just walked away. So I got that going for me. So we're not always right here either, guys, but we will give you actionable information to take back to your team and try to gain that tactical advantage for the week. There is always a lot of noise every week, so we'll cover what signals we think are most relevant to you. And as always, the show is meant to be interactive with our audience. So as we go through some of our takes, feel free to chime in on any of the platforms we're streaming on. We'll pull in those comments to our feed so we can all see and discuss. If you agree with this, fantastic. If you don't agree with this, let us know that too. All righty.
Keep that to yourself. Just kidding.
Oh, mercy. We've seen a lot of key players go hot, then cold, or in some cases, those that have just now arrived at the party. So are these people we can trust going forward, or are we destined to play the guessing game each week? I am victim of this. I did this last week. I second guessed myself and did not play a player that I probably should have. But we've got a list for people. We're going to cruise through here. Yeah. Caleb Williams, Chicago, the quarterback. The last 3 weeks, fantasy point-wise, again, standard scoring, 22 points, 13, and then 29 against Dallas. Is he for real, or do we trust him every week? Susan, any thoughts about Caleb Williams?
It's so hard because I think we're hopefully starting to see Ben Johnson's offense get ticking. Dan Campbell put the shutdown on him, which I think was
right,
which was purposeful. But I think I want to see it one more week before I go trust. But I'm liking what I'm seeing. He's got weapons. He and Odunze clearly have a connection. Komet is doing well. So yeah, I know. And I think I think we're headed that direction, but I want to give it just one more week before I fully buy in.
Adam, are you on the Caleb Williams bandwagon yet?
I am, and that's saying a lot. We talked about it. I was not a Caleb Williams guy. Like last year, going in college, to me, to be a pro quarterback, all these guys are talented. Like even the terrible guys. We look at Will Levis like, this guy's no good. Yes, he is an excellent quarterback. He just is not a good NFL quarterback. Caleb Williams, I just saw some things in college and I was like, I don't know if I trust this guy, because between the ears, I didn't think he was there. Because if you're put on a team with that amount of talent, you better be good. No quarterback has ever started their NFL career with that much talent. And then he was just sort of ho-hum last year. This year, I see him starting to connect the dots. And I still think it's Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's going to be probably my next Sean Payton. I love Sean Payton, so now I might love Ben Johnson. But you saw him connecting the dots. And what makes me trust him is that he's running some. Last week, he only got 12 yards running, so he ran less because he didn't have to. So to me, it gives me that thing that maybe the brain between his ears is starting to think, I need to run some, but I don't need to run all the time. It's like some quarterbacks become, Justin Fields thinks he has to run 90% of the time generally, but he's starting to figure it out. So I'm getting closer to trusting Caleb Williams, and as a fantasy asset with that running part of his game, it's starting to sound really good, and Rome's looking spectacular. I feel bad for the Loveland people, but you've been told for years, usually tight ends take 3 years. We've been spoiled by Brock Bowers, but and Sam Laporta,
and even Kincaid that first year.
Yep,
Kincaid, we thought he was going to be the next coming of great tight ends, and
then he waited to year 3 and did it last week.
Yeah.
And we talked before the season even began about Caleb Williams, that he missed a lot of open targets. And in fact, I was watching the game, and he still missed his share of open targets. And it's like, why couldn't you throw a better pass to Odunze? I got Odunze on my team, just connect with him. He's right there, So you can't get a little frustrated as a fantasy owner about the quarterback play.
His percentage is going up at least. Like last year was like 50 to Odunze. Yeah, so now he's at 67% last week. So that was kind of good.
So I think for me it might be matchup driven. So I think have to kind of watch the matchups and give it another couple of weeks in my book just to see, is it really somebody I could trust if I had to, or is it just matchup driven at this point in time? So we'll see. Another quarterback on the radar here has some up and down weeks. Geno Smith. I know he doesn't get a lot of love here because he's had a very storied career, but when he went to Vegas, it's like nobody really knew what to do with him as a quarterback for fantasy purposes. The last 3 weeks, 13 points, 0, and then went off for 21 fantasy points, which is pretty good for him. But I see this yo-yo. I see this dichotomy where it's just either boom or bust, and I don't see any trust here for a floor. Adam, do you have a take on Geno Smith? I know you and I were talking about this right before the show.
No, this is a no trust. This is the Corey Bassett special. So we'll get some Raider talk in there. This dude has single-handedly wrecked Brock Bowers. If you drafted Brock Bowers, your season is ruined because of him. Apparently he loves Tucker. Good golly, Miss Molly. But no, Geno Smith, I bring Aiden O'Connell back when he's not hurt. I don't know, but it's Geno Smith. I don't have a lot of trust in him. I mean, you said 13, 0, and 21. He got a 0. You're going to want to put a guy on the team that had a 0. I mean, the only reason you have a 0 is if you get hurt. And he played the entire game and got a 0. So again, what was Penix's number? Penix was probably pretty close this week. But I still trust Penix more than Geno Smith.
It was bad.
Geno Smith had that stellar year and then a couple of mid-years and a lot of bad years. No, 2 quarterback, he's a streamer because buys are going to come soon, but no.
And their strength of schedule is rated middle of the pack by Fantasy Pros. Raiders are almost dead in the middle, so you're really going to want to be looking at, and they're looking at week 14 to 18. You're really going to want to be playing a matchup there.
I'd rather have somebody who consistently gets me 12 points than get somebody that's either boom or bust like this, and even with that, I'm hoping that people at home have different options available, that you don't have to worry about, do I play Geno Smith or not as your primary back, your quarterback. Let's move on to a couple receivers. One of them is Cortland Sutton. Seemed like the darling child leading into the season. Maybe he was going to be the number one, and he has been all over the place as well. The last 3 weeks, 15 fantasy points, 1 and 21 this past weekend. It just feels very sporadic. Susan, do you have any take on Cortland Sutton?
I think have patience. Keep playing him.
Okay.
He is the one there. He got paid to be the one.
He did.
Nix has not looked super great. I think where I know people were a little worried about the sophomore slump with him, but I think you can still trust Sutton to be there and to do it. Every wide receiver can be boom bust.
Yeah.
I think just based on his past, he's going to be more reliable. They're going to get him the ball. He's the veteran presence there. I think he's going to be fine.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Bo Nix fan, Dove.
I am. Yeah, the Broncos are my team this year. No, wholeheartedly agree. There, he is the one. The second week, look at the 2 weeks he was good. I believe the Colts are good. That was one of my bold preseason prediction. The Colts are going to make the playoffs. All they do is win, and their defense scored a touchdown this week. So the Colts defense might not be terrible. We all got scared because if Anthony Richardson was starting, this would be a different discussion because the defense would be a lot more tired. Yep. He'd be throwing the balls, but he has a worse throwing percentage than Caleb Williams. But do notice the Broncos play Monday night against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Ooh. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Either that or Dobbins is going to run for 250. But the Broncos should put up some points this week. It'll be tougher in 2 weeks with the Eagles. They got the Eagles and the Jets who are still not great. But then you're going to hit the Giants, the Cowboys, the Texans. There are some prime matchups coming for Sutton, who is the number one. We thought Franklin might take some stuff, and then those of us who tried to get cute and start Franklin got nipped in the butt this week. It wasn't.
Yep. I would agree. They paid Cortland Sutton big time in the offseason. Bo Nix, I still trust him as a quarterback. He still has great accuracy, but I think he was just overmatched in that one game that he had down, which translated to the receivers. If anybody's using Cortland Sutton as one of their 3 receivers on their squad, this is, again, reaching out to you to say there are reasons to trust him. Stick with that gut instinct. But hopefully you didn't have to worry about this next player we were going to talk about. I did. AJ Brown. He started off super slow, which is not characteristic of him. The first 2 weeks, he had 1 point and 5 points on standard scoring. And then, of course, when I benched him, then he puts up 19. So feeling the sting on that one. But boy, who could unpack that one? Adam, tell me I'm not crazy if I want to start him again.
You got to start him. He goes to the receiver ad he just targets. Week 2, he stunk it up to 27 yards, but he had 8 targets. Yeah. Last week, he stunk it up. You look at halftime, I was texting my brother-in-law and I were trying to work on a trade in Dynasty, and I should have taken it, but he still has A.J. Brown. You get to halftime, I think he had 8 yards. It was something to that effect. I was like, look, A.J. Brown still only has 8 yards. He's still like, I'm not an A.J. Brown per se fan, but somehow I've got him on teams because I just couldn't pass him up for the value he was on those teams. And I think they're going to be fine because the Eagles, I think this week sort of figured out, hey, we got to pass. That's how we're going to win. And then it helped that they were getting obliterated per se, and then just came back and won the game. Like the Chiefs just laid an egg. But A.J. Brown's going to be the key in that. Smith looked good. So he's not going to be a top 5 receiver in this league, but he's going to be the A.J. Brown we think he is. He could get 80 to 100 yards and probably a tutty every week. That's what we should expect out of A.J. Brown. He's similar to a guy we're going to talk about in a couple moments here for me.
Doesn't it scare you guys, though, that you don't know what that game plan is going to look like from week to week? Because it seemed like they ran the ball the first 2 weeks. They didn't throw very much. And then all of a sudden this time they had to throw, but they were able to throw. And so, what do you get week 4 and week 5? I mean, Susan, any thoughts about A.J. Brown as somebody you want to trust or not?
I am an A.J. Brown owner, so I am making this decision every week as well.
Yeah.
I'm starting him because the ability for him to blow up is always there. And I think this week, the game against Dallas, I think, made people think, oh, Dallas is a little better than they really were, right? And then so the Eagles, they were able to run the game plan that they want, but Dallas was able to keep up, I think, in a not real way. They played the Chiefs. The Chiefs aren't looking as good this year. And I think they're going to have to get back to playing. There are some other better teams that they're playing that they're going to have to be able to show and not just run all over people. They're going to have to throw the ball, especially because there are some teams that have figured out, I mean, they're working on stopping the tush push. There are a couple teams that have done it. And It's 2 weeks in a row, though, that the refs have missed a false start on the tush push. So,
Yeah,
um,
offside.
I
That was
think
really ugly too.
yeah, it was bad. I think, side note, one of my favorite defensive plays is when, I don't remember who it was, he went under the pile to try to, like, intercept the
Do something
tush
different,
push.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But anyway, trust. All of that word salad to say, keep trusting AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had AJ Brown on my dynasty team. Of course, I've also got Justin Jefferson, and those have been my bread and butter together in tandem. And then after the first 2 weeks, it's like, I need points. I can't trust this. So who do I input in my lineup? Romo Dunze, and he didn't disappoint. So I wasn't like out in the cold entirely. I may have lost a few extra points, of course, that AJ Brown would have scored, but it was that trust factor. I just didn't have that trust in him that he wasn't going to disappoint me 3 weeks in a row. And now I've got the real decision: is do I play AJ Brown versus Odunze? And so I'll have to wrestle with that one the rest of this week. Many people have been wrestling with this next guy. It's a tight end. Sometimes you love him, sometimes you hate him. Mark Andrews started off extremely cold last year. This year, he had a point week 1, a point week 2, and then he just unloaded this past weekend. 24 fantasy points, standard scoring. Susan, can you talk some sense into me about Mark Andrews here? Because
nope.
I've gone with my backup every week at this point because I couldn't trust him.
Tag me in.
Tagged in, because I don't know.
Mark Andrews is my logo on my best dynasty team.
Really?
It's a tight end premium, and we've seen this movie before. It just the climax came sooner this year. You saw the first play, the first 2 passes Lamar Jackson had last night. Andrews. To me, in my brain, it was like him saying, "Hey, I realize you're the best receiver on my team. You're my You're my bread and butter. I like Zay. He's okay, but you're my guy. You're what's made me a better passer, and I'm going to get you the ball." And if you look at the catches, Andrews made a couple of those. Those were some nifty, like the one down near the end zone. I don't think it was for the touchdown, but maybe it was a touchdown. But it was a nifty little catch. Like it was a touchdown maybe, but he was making some good catches. So the dude is not dead in the water. And we saw this happen last year. He ended up being a top tight end because then after that, it was a month last year. This year was only 2 weeks. So, he got the playoffs out of his head. I mean, that had to be in his head. I'm ready to roll with him, mainly because we thought Fannin was a thing. And, well, there he goes again. You know, there's other guys. Unless you're Trey McBride, you know, and Kincaid came out of nowhere. He's been kind of a pile of poo for a while. This is a guy who we've known, and I do have to say, though, I did not play him, but
me either. I was Kraft.
I benched him. I think for Kincaid once over, but another league I could play 2 tight ends and I didn't play him, and I won by 0.8 of a point over JJ Wang, my co-host of the Couriers, because of the garbage time Lamar touchdown. Thank goodness for garbage time. I would have lost, and I shouldn't have lost his team. He had a David Montgomery outpouring. But awesome. Yes, I think it's gonna turn around. You saw that. I mean, he did have 6 of 6 receptions, so that's not gonna happen. But it's more probable of a tight end to have high completion percentage or reception percentage, I guess, than a receiver because of the routes they're gonna run. Like he's not gonna be running 100, 50 yards down the field. So yes, I'm in. Let's do it. Team Mark Andrews.
He was at a 22% target share this week.
That's
which
fantastic
is
for tight end.
Very good. Yeah. So if that can keep up, then yeah.
Yeah, then congratulations, fantasy team owners.
Been burned before.
Andrews, but it doesn't hurt to keep looking through the waiver wires to see what depth you can add. And I think that's what the name of the game is here. Every week, even if you've got a healthy team, I always check to see what is out there. Sometimes we call it waiver wire. I think this week we're going to call it panic mode wire, just because there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be in panic mode at this point. So to help try to save your team or your season, it might be just a matter of trusting those savvy veterans that we just talked about, who you've already got on your roster. And hopefully you won't have to do much of that guessing game. But I think it's always very wise to keep looking at the waiver wire to see how can I improve my team, even start looking down the road with the waiver weeks, the bye weeks coming up here. But sometimes the waiver wire may be the only hope to save your season. And we've got a sizable list of players you'll probably want to monitor throughout this week for injury status. Some are likely to be out for a few weeks. Of course, with the waiver wire pickups, which are normally done early Wednesday mornings for most leagues, you might not have that luxury of waiting to see how does my injury play itself out to know if I should go pick somebody up. So keep that in mind at home. But potentially out, or we know are going to be out, includes a pretty sizable list of a lot of name brands here. On the quarterback side, keep a watch out for the injury status on Daniels, Justin Fields, J.J. McCarthy, Brock Purdy, Mac Jones got dinged up as well. On the wide receiver front, CeeDee Lamb looks like he might miss some time. Worthy might be coming back. Juwan Jennings looks to be injured. And now Mike Evans looks like it might be multiple weeks with a hamstring. So, again, injury bug does not care who your team is. It could take a toll. And then from the chat room, Scary Terry may not play this weekend. Absolutely true. On the running back side, Tracy looks to be out 2 to 4 weeks at this point. Shipley is also very questionable. And then, of course, unfortunately, Najee Harris out for this season, James Conner out for this season. And so those types of things that happen ultimately play into your depth or what you should be looking at from the waiver wires. And then on the tight end front, likely to play, but we'll see. Keep a watch for him. Darren Waller, again, keep an eye out. And then Jatavian Sanders, who we thought might have started turning that corner. Looks like he could miss some time as well. So let's talk about waiver wires and options. And as always at home, your situation would dictate who or if you should even pick up some of these players. But there are a lot of options that are out there, probably in your leagues, that are rostered under 50%. And so we're going to look at position by position of who we've drawn up on our list and kind of walk through that to give you some insight about what we're thinking here. On the quarterback front, potential people available in your leagues, and again, most of these are rostered well under 50%. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Tua Tagovailoa, Aaron Rodgers, Cam Ward. Trevor Lawrence is at 50% in most systems. And then the toss-up, Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart in that situation, because the rumor surfaced earlier today seems to be confirmed that Wilson's going to get benched in favor of Jackson Dart. So out of this group, Susan, which of these quarterbacks for this massive list rostered so poorly would you feel comfortable with?
I'm picking up Sam Darnold.
Okay.
The Seahawks have looked good. Their defense is good. Overall, the team is doing really well. When you look at his stat lines, this last week, he was quarterback 14, if I'm remembering right from this week. I got to look at my other things, but he only threw the ball 18 times, but he had 14 completions. And he had 2 touchdowns and 218 yards. That is a viable streaming option for you. And he only played 68% of snaps this last week. On the week before against Pittsburgh, open bad defense, he had 33 attempts, also 2 touchdowns, almost 300 yards. This coming week, he's playing the Arizona Cardinals and their depleted secondary. His wide receiver options in JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is turning the corner to be elite. Mm-hmm. A Cooper Kupp that looks decent. He's holding up. He did really well. And adding the rookie Torrey Horton, there's 3 weapons right there that is going to open up the field for Darnold. And so I'm going to be picking up Darnold to play
How is it that he keeps landing
as a
in the
streamer.
right situation, the right time, right? I mean, I
Well,
don't
he
know.
was a Jet.
Well, yeah. Last year, this year, it feels like he just hit it in the right time, the right place. I know. I think Adam, you were going rogue instead of somebody off this list. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I wrote a name in there. Like on the list, I was in most of my leagues. Everybody takes all the quarterbacks. So there's nobody really to grab. So I highlighted 2 on our list mainly because he's on my team. No, mainly because they're 0-3. They showed signs of life. Like he didn't have outstanding off the rails numbers against Buffalo, but they're a stellar team, and their next 6 opponents: Jets, Panthers, Chargers, okay. Browns have an okay defense. Falcons, Ravens, who aren't your old school Ravens defense. Those next 6 teams, they could beat the Jets. So he could be back to putting up some numbers with the way they're playing. Waddle's coming in clutch. He's getting a better connection with Tyreek. This kid Malik Washington, who I know him because he went to UVA down the road down here. Many people are going to start to know him because he was in primetime football. Could be a little sneaky guy on that team, and A-Chain always gets what A-Chain gets, and that's what's pretty money about him. So he's got the weapons there. But the rogue pick I did have, and I don't like the schedule, but Carson Wentz, if you're in dire straits for a QB2, Carson Wentz is playing for a really good Minnesota Vikings team. Carson Wentz didn't have to do a lot because the defense, as you can see, was it Fantasy Surf Wars where I think I had played against the Minnesota defense and 30 points against me, but he did what he had to do. $173, 2 touchdowns, and the coach came out to say, may in roundabout ways, Wentz might be starting when McCarthy is healthy, because McCarthy did not look stellar. So there's a possibility. So if you have a deep bench, that's a stasher kind of pickup. No one I'm going to be like, yes, I'm starting Carson Wentz this weekend. Unless I have Geno Smith. Then I'm going to be excited to start Carson Wentz. Not really. But I think he's a stasher because on that team, he could help you survive bye weeks. He could help you as a QB2 if you're in dire straits. Like I think that's why I put his name in there. That way I don't talk about 2 Dolphins tonight.
No, and for me, I when I looked at this list of people who are not rostered very much, it's like, boy, my first thought is, boy, I hope I don't have to choose between any of these guys if I didn't have to, because to me they're all at best streamers. That if I had to, I'm probably going to do a deep look into the matchups, the health of the receivers, the defenses, things like that, in order to make my decision. I thought it was a lot easier to go through the list and say, "Yep, nope, not that guy. Nope, not that one either." And I think as I went through, it's like, okay, Cam Ward was off my list. Russell Wilson, boy, what a sad story that is. But he gave you a fantastic week and fantastic storylines against the Cowboys, of course. But then really was bad.
Yeah, it was bad
this past week, to the point where, boy, maybe the rookie can do better than that. So if you needed a deep stash, I know Jackson Dart has a lot of skill sets coming out of college. They wouldn't have drafted him if they didn't have plans and design for him. So maybe as a deep stash, if I don't need to use him right now, maybe Jackson Dart would fall onto my roster. But really, I think the best one out of this that I would probably take, and this is really a stretch, is Trevor Lawrence. He has the weapons around him. They've been playing well. They've been playing well together, but it just hasn't been cohesive very much for me. So for me, it's like, boy, I'm glad I don't have to wrestle with this decision, because you can make arguments pro and con against every single one of them.
Don't worry, Jackson Dart will be great for the Colts in 2 years. So stash him when you're done.
Oh, well played, Adam.
Did you see that meme? It's Peyton Manning and Adrian Peterson saying, "This is what happened to Saquon Barkley and Danny Dimes."
Yeah.
Oh, mercy. The running back list is actually pretty short, and I think it's indicative of the fact that most leagues have been pretty well picked over in terms of running backs. And so our list is pretty short. We've talked about Tyler Algier before on our list as well. Kareem Hunt, Ollie Gordon, we talked about just last week, and then McNichols from Washington. Adam, I know you talked about Ollie Gordon last week, and you were big on him last week. Is that still the case this week too?
Yeah, it's short and sweet. I think they need a pounder. It's not a homer pick. Actually, I don't want any of these guys. I mean, Algier, we talked about. I'll take Algier. We talked to him but as far as the other guys, you if you're in a league that plays fantasy football, generally every running back should be gone. Some guys should come out of nowhere. Ollie Gordon averaged 4.2. They were going to use him as a bruiser. He looked good against his Buffalo defense. The first 2 weeks were garbage, but he only touched the ball 3 times. So if he gets 10 to 15 and you need a streaming option, you're not putting him in there to start. You're keeping him there. And then you also have insurance in case somebody goes down, which please don't. But he looks like he could fill in that spot in a different role. He'll be more of a bowling ball going down through there, but he looks strong playing, and this could be his standard line for the year, vulturing a touchdown and running 10 times for 40 yards. Like he looked like he did.
The team had success when they were using Achane and Mostert in this way.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wouldn't be surprised if they try to recreate that type of situation using Gordon, because Gordon does look good when he's taking the ball and going for it. And he did, I think he caught 1 pass. But so that's
2 passes.
Yeah. So I am hoping that they can have their own Sonic and Knuckles version. I had Mostert that year that he was always on the goal line. It was incredible. So if they can recreate that system that worked really well for them, Achane's rookie year, I think that would be good for them. So I like that pick.
And they both did well too.
Right. They were both playable. So hopefully they can recreate that in an updated way, For me, we didn't mention this guy. He is just over 50% rostered when I look at him. But you need to see if Benson is on your waiver wires. If Trey Benson, we didn't mention him. Everybody's going to talk about him this week. He is the number 1 pickup if he is available on your waiver wire. But he was over 50%. So I want people to understand why we're not talking about him.
Agree.
So, but I do want to just make sure that you guys know, everybody knows, check to make sure Benson is there. If he is the number 1 priority over everybody we talk about tonight, because he is going to be their workhorse.
Oh yeah.
I'm starting him.
Okay. So sorry, the person from our list that I talked about that I wanted to talk about was Kareem Hunt. But they have turned that backfield into a true committee, and Hunt is getting goal line work. Pacheco had 10 carries. Hunt had 10 carries this last week, and Hunt was on the goal line. So if you're needing touchdowns, you're looking at Hunt to be that guy who's going to be within the 5-yard go zone. So,
well, we've always talked about opportunity, and he's getting opportunity because even Kansas City isn't quite sure is either one of them going to emerge as the RB1? And right now, I think until they have a better answer, it is going to be committee.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the pick as well out of this list. I'm not a Kansas City fan, obviously, but I think Kareem had stronger upside for what I would be looking for, because there is that potential he could take over the backfield, and he's getting a lot of touches, both running and receiving. So I like that pick. But then, Adam, to your pick, Ollie Gordon, I was on the bandwagon with that last week after our discussion, and I went out there and it's like, boy, I don't really have anything to give up, even to stash him for right now. But again, I think both good picks, but understand when you're looking at the list we're presenting to you, you're not finding somebody who's going to be the RB1 right now. It is somebody who might be able to add a few points if you have no other options at this point. And it might just be short term. I think it's interesting, but probably obvious that nobody wants much of the backfield in Washington at this point in time. It's just too chaotic, too many injuries. Not sure what direction they're going in, and part of it is, I think, because Daniels isn't back at the helm yet. That might solidify some of the decision making there, but I'd have to agree with both of you guys' running pick insights. Let's move on to the receiver group here. It's an interesting list to be sure. We're going to start off this list with Trey Tucker from Vegas, Luther Burden, Torrey Holton from Seattle. Probably haven't heard much of him. Sterling Shepard from Tampa. We talked about Ian Manor from last week's conversation, and then Turpin from Dallas pops up on our list. All of those receivers are very low percentages in terms of rostering at this moment. So there is much opportunity out here if you're looking for it. Adam, who stands out in your mind out of the receiver core?
Well, the good news is in most of your leagues, everybody's going to jump on Trey Tucker because he scored a gajillion touchdowns. He scored 3 touchdowns this week. But I don't think it's something that's going to stick because I was trying to as you saw, I disappeared earlier because my computer decided to lock everything up. But I know his targets were not what they were that first week. And it's Geno Smith. We'll just leave it there. But the guy that I'm going to tell you to stash, if you got a stash spot, is Coker in Carolina. They need a number 2. He came on towards the end. Legette's not getting diddly squat, and he will complement McMillan very well. But if I got to pick someone here, I saw Turpin. I totally blanched over him. But Torrey Horton, great rookie coming out. He had 4 targets the last 2 weeks, turned them into touchdowns, and he's a punt returner. If you're lucky, I'm in a league where you get punt return yards. That makes him even more valuable. And eventually, they're gonna put more on JSN, more coverage that way, that it will get him some more openings. I see he could take a Lockett type role on this team, which is frustrating for fantasy owners. But when it hits, Tyler Lockett, when he hit. When he didn't hit, That's why I don't have any Tyler Lockett's. He did get some catches this week, by the way, for the Titans. But yeah, I like Horton to see where he goes. And I'm looking at waivers this week, and there's nobody that I'm like, yes, I'm ready to pick him up.
Ooh, from our chat room, Tucker or Horton?
I personally am going to go Horton, I think, but that's also because I have more confidence in Sam Darnold than I do in Geno Smith.
How sad is that?
Fair.
And the other reason I would go Horton is that I think this week was a fluke. I am not chasing Trey Tucker at all. I'm going to let other people spend their fab on that, or their waiver priority on that guy. I think Horton is going to have the more consistent play. So that's my.
You're not going to buy after the wide receiver 3 performance for the season thus far?
No, thank you.
Because of last weekend, that's what he is. Believe it or not, he is 4% rostered according to one of the sources I looked at. He's the wide receiver 3, and it's like, what's going on, guys? And
where's
and
Russell Wilson now?
Well,
yeah, right.
He's like QB. Yeah. I don't have it pulled up. I'm streaming. He's because he threw all the touchdowns. Yeah,
Russell Wilson. I've got him at QB 13, but that's probably inflated because of one weekend.
One week, yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I agree. Trey Tucker, it'd be great to see if he could replicate that, but there are so many factors with Vegas right now. He is the speedster for sure, but it also tells you about how dire that team is if you can't go to the main bread and butter, Brock Bowers, Myers, Gianti. I mean, you've got to have some better team identity than just Hail Marys all the time, and then hopefully your speedster can run underneath it. I agree. I think a lot of people are going to be chasing Trey Tucker this week. If you're one of them, good luck, because I'm not sure that's somebody you can count on week in, week out, just because I don't know that he's got that stable floor that some of these other people could have or would have. Susan, what is your take on any of these guys, if there is anyone out of this wide receiver core?
I want to talk about Sterling Shepard. I think people are going to be talking about him because Evans went down, right? He's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks with a mid-grade hamstring injury. I know. So Shepard was the beneficiary of that. He and Ibuka I think one had 8 targets, and I think the other one had 5.
Mm-hmm.
And the tight ends are not involved at all.
No.
There, neither tight end got a single target last week, even after Evans went out, which is crazy to me. But they are not using tight ends, and they're one of the only 3-0 teams left. So you're seeing a guy that is on a good offense.
Yeah.
Baker is making it happen. He's scrambling, letting things like building time for receivers to get out by scrambling so that he can get passes downfield. It looks good. My only concern, and I want to make sure that people are aware, is that there's the possibility that Godwin could be back this week. He before this week, it was said that he could play this week. So he's also only 73% rostered. So go check your waiver to see if you happen to be one of the 1 in 4 leagues that Godwin is there, because he's going to come back. But we don't know what he's going to be worked in. Is there going to be a ramp up? So I think Shepherd is a place where you can go to get some work in. I lost this week I should have won this week. So annoying. I should be
terrible.
Wait, Vin Diesel. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. We can pull out that quote from Fast and the Furious.
So dumb. Should be 3-0 this week. Sorry. Okay, keep going.
Starting Shepherd. I know people are going to say, well, then who could replace Mike Evans? Well, I think they already had the replacement. Ibuka, I think, was always going to be the heir apparent. I still feel that way.
Yeah.
And yes, I've seen the same thing. Godwin's coming back soon, but you have to keep a watch for it, because even if he does come back, are they going to keep him under a snap count? Is he going to be football ready to play or not? So those factors might come into play. I think starting Shepherd would be a great fit if you're looking for somebody for the next couple of weeks. Probably could do you some good. I think there's certainly some upside to go with that as well. I would say I could not trust Luther Burden from Chicago because not enough body of work and there are too many other mouths to feed. And while they are trying to get both tight ends involved in the game, neither one of them are really getting much action, but they are still taken away from the downfield throws. And we talked about Ayumana last week. Turpin is that wild card, I think, on the list because we don't know exactly how long CeeDee Lamb's going to be missing, but is he really going to be the person who steps up in that role or not? I think the benefactor there is still going to be Ferguson, to be working in.
Can they get him more targets?
Yes. I hope so, because I got him on my team. But
targets. He had 14 targets already.
Yeah, seriously. So he was truly the benefactor of not just CeeDee Lamb's injury, but also the game script, because they had to throw because they were down so quickly because of the play of Caleb Williams. So I think that's a good assessment of the receiver core that we've put out here. Now to move on to tight ends, we're looking at a small subset of tight ends available. Again, only rostered 50% or less. There isn't a lot out there anymore. We've talked about at least one or two of these on occasions throughout the season, but out of Strange from Jacksonville, Komet from Chicago, or Loveland, or Fannin from Cleveland, Susan, is there any one of these three that stand out in your mind?
Brenton Strange is who I'm picking up. I'm really surprised that he's still only 31% rostered. He's the tight end 15 for the season. If you're streaming tight end, or you're in a tight end premium league where you could be starting multiple tight ends. Mm-hmm. He is somebody who, I can't look at the scoring in this one, but his snap counts are good. 79%, 90%, 83%. And being on the field as a tight end is very important so that you can roll out and be a release valve for the quarterback. Talking about, if you believe in Trevor Lawrence, Strange is going to be the beneficiary of that belief as well. Yeah. He is getting decent, the distance on the catches is good. He had 7 targets last week. Next week they play San Francisco, who lost Nick Bosa for the season.
Oof,
and
that's a big loss.
so Lawrence is going to get more time to pass because Bosa is gone. After that, you get Kansas City, and then Seattle. So that's 2 weeks where it could be rough in the streets there. But for next week, if you're streaming, I think that you are looking at a decent option in Strange. I'm sorry, I got to pull up the numbers again. 7 targets, 6 receptions for 61 yards. I mean, over 10 yards per catch. That's really good. So,
well, that also seems like it's better chemistry than he's
zone.
having with Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is was supposed to be in that top 12 tier of receivers. I've not seen that chemistry. I think Strange is picking up some of that slack, so he looks a lot better because chemistry isn't there with some of Lawrence's other targets. So I agree. I think
Hunter's not playable either.
And Hunter's not playable. Just like little Jimmy said last week. And Adam, I know it's a small list. We've talked about Fannin before and even a little bit tonight, but does Strange, Komet, or Fannin stick out in your mind of playable or streamable at this point?
I would go with what Susan said. Like Strange of those 4, like Fannin, I like him in a dynasty to see what he's going to do. But Sharon was asking, what about Schultz?
Houston. Enough said.
Houston. would you look at Schultz or one of those 2 guys? You're playing tight end roulette, which is
and then she comes back with Schultz or Kent.
Yeah, I think it was Komet. One of those autocorrects would be my guess. But
autocorrect.
I can't.
Yeah.
But I think it's tight end roulette is what you're playing.
It is. It really is. And then also other comment from Sharon, Will Disley is still hurt. Yeah, I thought he was.
He's going to play.
He's going to play? Okay.
They said he will likely, not 100%, but will likely return this week. But then again,
likely, but again, check to see if he is. And a lot of times they don't make those decisions until late in the week as well.
Yeah, that'll be a practice report question.
Yeah.
So, and the Chargers are splitting the tight end work pretty evenly. I don't know that I would be confident enough to start either one of the Chargers tight ends because they're getting 4 targets a game. If one happens to be in the end zone, great, you're happy. But if you don't end up in the end zone with them, you're in trouble.
Well, on the Chargers team, they've got 3 bona fide receivers, so they don't have the need to stretch the field sideways when you've got when you got Quentin Johnson, you've got Allen, and of course McConkey. I'd say there are a lot of teams you really have to look at the situation of what is the chance that they're going to get the ball, how much are they being targeted, and again, only 3 weeks into the season, not a great sample or body of work to draw conclusions from. But even with Fannin, as we thought was going to be the hot rookie, everybody's got to pick him up, and a lot of people did, still rostered only less than 50%. If you had to, and if he's still available, you could probably stream him. Just understand where that floor is probably going to be if that were to come to pass. All right, that was a great walkthrough of a lot of our insights of who might be available in your leagues. But let's move on with little Jimmy. So on our weekly show, we've got a segment called Start and Sit. We've got our little token. Adam's showing that into the screen right now. And we flip it. And then props, of course, the Tank Top podcast for the inspiration of the idea. And we choose a new player for little Jimmy to flip with. And so we've got another one for today. Corey posted in the chat room that little Jimmy is actually 2-0. And that is, in fact, correct. Little Jimmy, 2-0 because we flipped it and it's right. So how this works is if you've got some people you're not sure who you want to play, you're just not decided, flip them. Whatever he lands on, do that with the player. And if it goes well, congratulations. It's not your fault. If it goes bad, because little Jimmy told you to do it. So the worst thing you can do is just not flip little Jimmy at all. You can get your own little Jimmy start and sit coin at fantasyturf4.com or message any of us on social media and we'll get you connected. It's only $5 plus shipping and it goes directly to supporting the team. We've had in the
Adam, your
past.
continued Vanna White is just so good.
Oh, yes, he is.
I wish I was
He's just
better
not-
at magic.
he's-
You could make it disappear without stopping.
To remind our audience,
You'll never know where it is.
little Jimmy said start Devonta Williams, and he was right. He had a monster game. Little Jimmy last week said Travis Hunter, sit him, and he only had one catch out of just 2 targets. So that was dead on accurate. This week, we're putting out there Khalil Shakir from Buffalo, yet another receiver. So he's had 11 receptions, 15 targets, 121 yards receiving for the entire season. Puts him at about wide receiver 49, 50, that area. They play against New Orleans at home this week for Buffalo. And if you're looking for people comparable in that ranking area, you're probably looking at Renfro, McConkey, Brian Thomas, we just talked about. Even Drake London.
Wait. Did you say McConkey?
Yeah.
I was waiting
wait.
for the Bassett
Oh,
McConkey
is there
comment. It hasn't come
a
yet.
bet going
Hasn't
on
come
with
yet.
that one?
I was waiting for that to come.
It's going to come from the chat room. You just know it is. McConkey is in
Y'all
that,
don't have
in
to
that-
bring that up. You're supposed to be on my side.
He's the boss. Sorry, Susan.
But
We
if
love
you can
We
believe
love
it,
you dearly.
people who are going high in those drafts, like Brian Thomas and Drake London, they're down there in those rankings that are
Yeah.
comparable to Khalil Shakir. So with that, flip the coin, Adam.
Oh no, I dropped it and. Ooh. Start. Coordination wasn't there tonight, but he rolled around.
So little Jimmy says start Shaquille. Sorry,
3, 2,
I'm
and
thinking
1.
basketball at this moment. Khalil Shakir. Start Shakir against New Orleans. Susan.
Okay. I think this one could be okay. They are playing New Orleans this week.
Yes.
So New Orleans defense has not been great. But Kellen Moore has been surprisingly been able to get this young quarterback that everybody thought was going to be terrible. The offense itself has been holding its own. Is it good? No. Is it completely terrible? Also, no. Now, where the problem lies is, can they keep up in any way, shape, or form with the Bills? Because if the Bills get up ahead early, they're not going to need to pass. It's all going to go to James Cook. That even probably Ray Davis is going to get more carries. Maybe even their third running back, just to get them game time if they're up. The game against Miami, the Bills defense was surprisingly not as good as people thought it would be. People thought that game was going to be a shellacking, and that's not what happened. So I know Miami showed up to play. So maybe we can get something like that from the Saints this next week as well. So I think it could be okay. It's definitely a scary situation based on how the game script is going to go, but I think he's going to be okay.
So, Adam, your Miami Dolphins actually hung in the game last week against Buffalo. So we're very much talking about game script, game flow. But does Shakir have the ability for little Jimmy to be right this week?
As a wide receiver 3 flex, maybe. Like, it depends upon, because I was thinking about this. Like, we're looking to start set. Is he successful if he gets his 4 receptions for 50? Like, what would be deemed a successful? Does he fall within that? It's spread out. That, I mean, Coleman went bonkers one week, and then he's been sort of ho hum. Last week it was Kincaid's week. I mean, it's consistently been James Cook, but I would lean towards, I wouldn't bet any money on this, but he could be a wide receiver 3 because the Saints are terrible, or he could be a wide receiver 7 because, as Susan was saying, the Bills just clobber him Cook gets all the touchdowns. Josh Allen gets all the touchdowns. Then Kincaid sneaks in one. He only has 8 more yards than Josh Palmer so far on the season. So it depends upon where our skill is. That would be something to figure out. Like, we know Adams killed it. We know, the first 2 weeks, they were pretty, you could look at them and go, oh yeah, these two guys did. Travis Hunter played cornerback. So he didn't go, but he killed it.
What if we do it? They just meet their projection in the platform.
So better than Drake London.
I would rather see little Jimmy exceed expectation to call it a win, but that would be
if they beat the projection, because coming from my mind space of a beginning fantasy football player, one of the things of beginning fantasy football players, they use those projections on the platform.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Who am I looking at? Who am I going to start? So if you are somebody who's relying on that projection, then you're going to be happy if they meet or beat it, because that's what you're expecting them to get.
Yeah.
So
at least give me the minimum points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we should use that as the start sit. In real life, it really is all dependent on who you're starting and sitting around them, like who it's based in your lineup. But I think in this situation, in a vacuum, we should use the projections on the platforms to see if they meet or beat it.
I think it's fair. Because, how many times we look at our rosters for the week, it's like, wow, I'll take those points if that's what he scores. Yeah, because I'm oftentimes disappointed. I think that this could be another blowout game, just like Seattle did last week to New Orleans. But in order to do that, you're going to have to put up the points. It's going to have to go somewhere. Someone's going to have to score those points. And Allen has been showing a lot more chemistry with Shakir in the last week or two than he had, early in the season. So I think for that, I'm going to have to side with little Jimmy on this one. I'm going to trust that the coin is right. Little Jimmy is going to do us good if you go ahead and play him, because I think he is going to beat projections this weekend.
Well, projections are 6.2 to 6 point. AR just put them all together. You're looking at about 6.3 points. Wide receiver 36 to 54, sort of the range that everything comes across. So 6 points, yeah, I'll take that. That's
I'm expecting at least
4 catches for 30, 40 yards.
Yeah, I think he's still going to get about 10 points. My guess, if I were to.
Is that in a PPR league?
That's a great question. Makes a difference.
My projection. The projection in sleeper for a half-point PPR league is basically 9.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was just AI put together. So would we use Yahoo? Would we use sleeper?
If I were to throw out projected numbers, I'd say he's probably going to get 40, 50 yards and probably a touch. But that would be a really good game for him at this point in the season, based on where he's been for the first 3 weeks. Okay. Rapid fire. There has been a lot of things posted in the chat rooms. We appreciate everything that's been posted out there. I'm looking at one here from Kara, our winner of trivia last week. Should I just drop Stephon Diggs? I see that he's now busy in his personal life. Thoughts from the group?
At least he's doing something.
Oh, wow. Shots fired.
He's been a dud this year. It depends on how much you're dropping for. Somehow waiver
wire. Yeah, it depends on who you're going to pick up.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm in.
Well, so let's do this. Would you drop Diggs to pick up
Shakir?
Elick Eilmanor, who's had 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks?
I would, in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
because I'm looking at anything is greater than nothing. At this point, if I'm really wrestling, do I keep Diggs on my team? Then I am looking for somebody who's at least going to be productive and maybe have some upside to them. So my vote would be drop him.
When did Stephon Diggs tear his ACL? So I'm trying to pull that up to see when that year, because could it be that he's
still hangover from
October 27th?
Maybe.
So we're looking at 11 months from ACL. So is this going to be? I'd probably drop him, but keep an eye, because maybe maybe he gets that health back. Like, it takes that little bit of point to get the ACL speed back, and maybe they're saying he's healthy and putting him out there as a decoy.
Yep.
But right now, based on production, take Alec Manor. Somebody's got to score on that team.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and then I don't know if it was posted in here just briefly here, but Kara also responded she'd just rather take the 0 points than have Diggs on the team. I would say anybody who's dead weight on your team, you better have a good reason for keeping them there. Last year I kept 2 running backs on my team that were dead weight, but I was banking on a potential future for them, and eventually I just gave up on them because that wasn't going to materialize. So you have to have a plan if you're going to keep them on your roster. Otherwise, they don't serve any good there. Okay.
All right. So, Sharon.
This episode's for you.
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, this woman is in 18 leagues.
Oh, geez.
And this is the only one that she's 0-3.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
That's pretty great.
That's incredible.
She wanted to know, Adam, she was wanting to know who she could trade to get Monty.
Did you get the same? She gave me the message. I was sending her. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the conversation here. We were talking today, and I was like, "Hey, ask on the show, and I'll see if we can get you some shout outs here because it's tough because she has a deep running back room." And I told her to.
Yeah.
What I was saying is, I don't know if I trade necessarily from Monty, but she has Benson sitting there. Her running backs are fairly deep, so she's basically. So her running backs are, here we go, Derrick Henry. Oh, she got Pacheco, so I'd trade Pacheco, but I'd move Benson up to start. So Henry, Benson, Pacheco, Corum, and Henderson are her running backs. Like the team's struggle city. Tet McMillan, T. Higgins are her receivers. Conquo, Franklin. It's because the conversation was, I don't want to trade Henry, but
no, you don't trade Henry. That is your only meal ticket to get out. Unless you're going to get some really significant depth.
You might be able to find a Bengals fan who wants T. Higgins. Personally, I think T. Higgins is not playable anymore, based on what we saw.
Browning. Was tough.
But if you may be able to try to get something, trade T. Higgins for here's an Io Manor again. Use that name. Trade T. Higgins for looking. I don't have a list of like who would be around the idea, but I think if you can get somebody that is Jacoby, if you could somehow find a Bengals fan and who believes in the T and trade him for Jacoby or Darnell Mooney, even that level of player, then I would try to do that.
A lot of times when I look for trades, I look to see what does the other team need and what am I willing to give up to try to make that happen. And so sometimes you might have to give up a marquee player if you're getting good depth in return. So if you're 0-3, you're struggling for more than just one reason. You've got multiple things going on probably at this point. So it's going to be a tricky situation because you don't want to give up your bread and butter, but at the same time, do you have anything else worthy that somebody is going to want in order to facilitate that trade? And
I think you could also trade away.
She was offered Quentin Johnson for McMillan.
I would not do that.
I would not do that. It's too lateral. Like you're trying to improve your team. Of the team guys, I mean, you're going to move Benson up to your starters. Pacheco's got a high rate, but he's not producing. It's that package. I think the only thing going through the team, she's got the Baltimore stack, is Derrick Henry, dangle him. You might pull out a running back and a receiver, which will fill in those holes. But you want to make sure they don't add up to Henry. You don't want two people that equal one because Henry's still killing it. But if do you think that you could use Henderson? That was the other name I sent her. I said possibly Henderson on the hype, the post-draft hype, but he's been so bad.
Well, I don't know if maybe people are going to believe. I mean, Ramondre was really bad this last week. That people would just believe like, oh, they've got to make that transition. And then the other one I was thinking is if you could trade Benson to the Connor manager for a wide receiver.
Then you're stuck with Pacheco and Henderson as your running back. So it'd be depending on how big of a receiver. You should be able to get a high receiver. Benson's because he got all the touches last time. That's why you said he's the guy you got.
He's going to be on course. So maybe you keep him and start him.
Absolutely.
Like Henderson,
he was the number one running back from last year's draft class.
For me, he was. I wasn't buying what's his name down in Carolina,
Brooks.
Brooks. Yeah, I wasn't a Brooks guy.
Yeah. I actually had them both. I drafted both of them because I needed something for longer term on the running back situation. Neither one of them producing, so I chucked them both at some point late in the season. So, of course, Corey has to bring up some legendary history here that I know personally how you can start 0-3 and still win. You don't have to win in first place at this point in time. You just need to start putting together a few wins at this point to get back into the conversation and into the playoff hunt. You don't have to finish first by the end of the regular season. You just got to make it into the playoffs. Then it's all clean slate at that point in time.
Yeah.
You need 8 wins, generally 8 or 9 wins, depending on the league.
Corey and I had the best 2 teams in the league. We both started 0-3. We couldn't figure out why. And we both made the playoffs. So it is quite possible to do that. So good times. Thanks, Corey. That was good memories there. Another one here before we move on. Got a claim for Golden and Horton.
Flip that.
Okay.
Hopefully Horton and then Golden.
I would probably go Horton first, but then Golden's going to get opportunity with Jaden Reed being down for some significant time. So Golden might be again a benefactor there, but I think gameplay is going to have to be the storyteller on that one. Okay, let us move on. We have trivia time here. If you watched Fantasy Turf War live before, you know we've got a weekly contest going on. All you need to do is email your answer as well as your name to fantasyturfwar@gmail.com. You've got until Sunday night to enter. We put all of the correct answers in a hat. We draw the winner, and we announce it on Tuesday's show, where we will ask the next question. Last week's question was pretty simple. What was the maximum number of players allowed on the field for one team during a play? And as Corey stated, this didn't get past anybody because, of course, the right answer is 11. There were 20 correct entries last week. The commission put all those answers together and randomly selected another longtime listener, Michelle Kanak. So congratulations, Michelle. You're the third winner of the season, and Corey's going to reach out to you to get you your winner's package. So on to this week's question. Who is the only player to win the Heisman Trophy twice? Who is the only player to win the Heisman Trophy twice? And yes, he did go on to have an NFL career. So there's the tie. So remember, email your answer as well as your name to fantasyturfwar@gmail.com. All right. And that was posted in the chat rooms as well. That's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. If you feel like you got value out of this show, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share the show with everybody you know. Susan, where can people find you? Anything to shout out?
All right. TikTok, Instagram. This is my handle at gridirongoddess.com. If you've got questions, feel free to message me. And as Sharon will tell you that Adam and I we're both really willing to help people. So if you've got questions, our DMs are open. We're happy to answer whatever you've got.
100%. I'll just keep going with fantasycouriers.com. It's got all the links to our podcast. We release every Sunday night. I always tell the show, I said, hey, we're going to, because of our schedules in life, we are basically doing Sunday's games and the Monday and Sunday night. Sorry, I tell them, I say, head over to Fantasy Turf Wars, everybody, to listen for a recap of those last 2 games and waiver wire pickups. It's just how life goes. We still get to do what we love during the season. We missed a couple there, but we recap it. Got my rankings coming out. Currently, we'll find out after the show. I was the number 5 running back ranker on Fantasy Pros. So it's kind of cool doing articles, popping up twice a week, start set, buy low, sell high kind of articles that pop out on Fantasy Pros. So all that's on fantasycouriers.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
And I use Fantasy Pros a lot myself. A lot of good information there. Awesome to see that you're a contributor to that, Adam, as well. And of course, I am Cameron Bassett, supporting Shelter Dogs for Veterans, and you can find me here on Fantasy Turf War Live every Tuesday. Make sure you're checking out our pages for the Week 2 League Updates video coming directly from Corey tomorrow. I think he meant Week 3. But if you want to come see some new video from Antarctica, you're going to want to make sure you've turned on notifications. Go back and check out the last week's video for Corey's frozen beard. There's a lot more going to be coming out this year as well. So including interviews with businesses and leagues, more contests, merch, giveaways, so much more. And as Corey closes out each week, be excellent to each other, be kind. And until next time, keep moving forward. See you. Thanks for being with us. Goodbye, all.